Robert's Report Show. I'm your host, Robert. NCAA Week 14 Championship Weekend. Most conferences that do have a championship game are going to be this weekend. Week 15 is the annual Army-Navy game, and then we start our 14 playoffs. After 13 weeks, we are no closer to figuring out who national champion is than we were 14 weeks ago. We have 5 teams. They either be 1 loss or no losses. We have Alabama 12-0. We have Ohio State 11-1. Clemson 11-1. Washington 11-1. Western Michigan 12-0. I've done top 25 rankings. I've looked at other top 25 rankings. I've looked at the playoff, rankings that come out on, was it Wednesday night if they come out? No love for Western Michigan. Undefeated. Yes, they're in a second-tier conference. They're not part of the Power 5 conferences. Here's the thing about Western Michigan Broncos. 12-0. Their opponent's winning percentage is 444. Not great. Washington Huskies, part of the Power 5 conferences, Pac-12. Their opponent's winning percentage is 471. But they have a loss. Western Michigan doesn't have a loss. So it was 3-game difference. I think being undefeated in 1 loss matters on that. But until we have a true playoff system, this is where we're at. Alright, so let's get started on these games this week. We have the MAC championship game. We have Western Michigan Broncos 12-0 versus the Ohio Bobcats 8-4. If Western Michigan wants any love at all when it comes to the playoffs, this is a must-win for them. Western Michigan versus Ohio State. Western Michigan is 28-1. They won 3 straight. Their last meeting was October 2015. The Broncos won 49-14. Broncos are favored by 19. I have them winning. I have Ohio covering. Pac-12 championship game. We have the Colorado Buffaloes at 10-2 versus the 11-1 Washington Huskies. If the Pac-12 wants a representative in the Final Four, I think Washington has to win here, and they have to win big. These two schools, rivalry, Washington is 9-5-1 versus the Buffaloes. They've won 6 straight. Their last meeting was in 2014, and Washington won that. Huskies are favored by a touchdown. I have them winning and covering. We have several games of non-championship games here. We have a game in the Big 12. We have the Kansas State Wildcats at 7-4 versus the TCU Horned Frogs at 6-5. TCU is favored by 4.5. I'm giving the 4.5 to K-State, so I got K-State winning plus 4.5 and covering. Next, out of the Sun Belt non-title game, we have the Troy Trojans at 9-2 versus the Georgia Southern Eagles at 4-7. Troy is favored by 8. I have them winning and covering. The American Conference championship game, we have the Temple Owls at 9-3 versus the Navy Midshipmen at 9-2. Navy 6-5-0 versus the Owls. They won 4 out of the last 6 in 2014. These two schools met. Navy won 31-24. They're favored by 3. I've been winning and covering. Navy, that is. Conference USA championship game, we have the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs at 8-4 versus the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers at 9-3. Louisiana Tech is 4-2-0 versus the Hilltoppers. Louisiana Tech has won 4 of the last 5. And then back in 2016, October this year, Louisiana Tech won 55-53. I'm actually taking the Hilltoppers to win this. I like what they've been doing lately. And I've been winning. They're favored by 7.5, and I have them covering. Next we have, I guess you call it the Big 12 title game, because there isn't a Big 12 title game, but these are the top 2 teams in the Big 12, which I don't think neither of them have a shot at making the Final Four because there's no championship game. We have the Oklahoma State Cowboys at 9-2 versus the Oklahoma Sooners at 9-2. All-time record, Oklahoma 85-18-7. Oklahoma's won 9 out of the last 13. The last meeting in 2015, Oklahoma won 58-23. I have Oklahoma winning. They're favored by 12. I have Oklahoma State covering at 12, but the Sooners winning. A couple games out of the Sun Belt. We have the New Mexico State Aggies at 3-8 versus South Alabama Jaguars at 5-6. South Alabama favored by 11. They got them winning and covering. Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns 5-6 versus the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks at 4-7. Warhawks are favored by a touchdown. I have them winning and covering. Another game out of the Big 12, we have the Baylor Bears 6-5 versus the West Virginia Mountaineers at 9-2. West Virginia is favored by 16. I have them winning and covering. I don't know win or lose here if it matters. It should, but I don't think it does. The SEC championship game, we have the just rolling the Alabama Crimson Tide at 12-0 versus the Florida Gators at 8-3. Is there a scenario out there where Alabama loses and they still don't make the Final Four? I don't think there is. I don't think Florida is that powerful of a team. I don't think they win it. They're 9-3. They would even an 9-3 SEC champion. I don't think makes the Final Four over a 12-1 Alabama, 11-1 Ohio State. I don't see that. I can't forecast that seeing that happen. It's sad to say, but I don't see that happening. Just Alabama. They 24-14 over Florida. They won 5 straight, and then last year they were in this game. Matter of fact, championship game for the SEC. Alabama beat Florida 29-15. Alabama favored by 24 points. I got Alabama winning. I got Florida covering the 24. Out of the Sun Belt, we have the Georgia Southern 3-8 versus the Idaho Vandals at 7-4. Idaho favored by 6.5. I've been winning and covering. Arkansas State Red Wolves at 6-5 versus the Texas State Bobcats 2-9. Another Sun Belt game. Arkansas State favored by 23.5. I've been winning and covering. 2 games really to watch, especially the Final Four. Clemson, in the ACC championship game at 11-1 versus the Virginia Tech Hokies at 9-3. Clemson 20-12-1, winning 3 straight versus the Hokies. Their last game was in 2012, 38-17 Clemson. Clemson favored by 9.5. I think Clemson's must win if they want to make the Final Four. I find it hard for the committee to put in a 11-2 non-conference champion Clemson. We have an 11-1 Ohio State sitting there, not playing for the conference championship, not doing anything, putting them in. So I have Clemson winning and I'm covering the 9.5. Here's where a lot of the committees are going to have a problem. Big Ten championship game. No Michigan. They're at 10-2. No Ohio State at 11-1. You have the 10-2 Wisconsin Badgers versus the 10-2 Penn State Nittany Lions. If you've looked at the rankings, the committee is dismissing Penn State, it seems like. Wisconsin is 9-8 versus Penn State. Penn State has won the last 2. The last meeting was in 2013. Penn State won 31-24. Wisconsin is actually favored by 2.5 in this game. I'm giving the 2.5 to Penn State, so I got Penn State plus 2.5 and covering. The committee is really going to have a problem if Penn State wins this. So you've got a Wisconsin at 10-3, they're definitely out. So do you put 2 Big Ten schools in? Do you put the Big Ten champion Penn State, which has been the top conference this year, at 10-2, 11-2, and leaving out an 11-1 Ohio State? Do you put them both in? If you put them both in, then you're definitely leaving out. Who do you leave out? Do you leave out the 11-1 Washington Huskies over 11-1 Ohio State? Well, based on not the championship games, based on this point in time with the 2-0 undefeated teams, the 3-1 loss teams, top 5 Ohio State 12-0, their opponent's winning percentage is .591. Ohio State number 2 at 11-1, their opponent's winning percentage is .552. Clemson at 11-1, their opponent's winning percentage is .600. Washington 11-1, their opponent's winning percentage is .471. Western Michigan 12-0, and the opponent's winning percentage is 444. I can't understand how they would leave out an undefeated team that's pretty comparable to a one-loss team that's in. So a lot will happen this weekend. As soon as the games are over, I will get a top 25 up, or at least top 10 up, and kind of go over who should be in the Final Four before the Final Four committee comes out. So that will wrap up in NCAA Week 14 at Robert Sports Show. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show, and don't just have a great day. Have an American